All right, so we starting with null values. What exactly are null values? Okay, by now you've been hearing null, null, null in my mouth, probably from Excel class. Okay, so null values are basically empty fields or fields with no value. Okay, that is a null value, a field that does not have any value inside of it. Okay, so in SQL we have the concept of that if a column can be nullable. The concept of that a column can be what? Nullable, meaning that column should not have may not have value. Let me use the word. The column may not have values inside of it. So if I come to products, okay, and I click on the columns, then if I scroll, I will see some things that will be like the for the product ID, okay, I'm seeing not null, okay. For the product name, I'm seeing what? Not null. Particularly for all of them, I'm seeing what? Not null, meaning they must all have values inside of them. That is for the product. Then if I come to the customer, okay, I'm seeing customer ID has not null. Customer first name and last name both have what? Not null. But the phone number has null. Email has not null. Street null. State null. State null. Zip code what? Null. Meaning all these places that have null in them, I can leave those values empty during an insert operation. Okay, that's how we do an insert operation. So during an insert operation, if I don't want to have values added there, I can skip that particular column without putting it, and the database will accept my input. But if I have not null and I skip it, I'll have an error. Okay, if I have not null and I skip it, I will do what? Have an error. So just bear that in mind. So that is the whole idea about null values. Okay, again, the columns or fields that have not null, you cannot ignore them or leave them empty when inserting values into a database. But those ones that have null can be left what? Empty. And by default, if you do not specify anything, it defaults to null. It can be left empty by default. Okay? So, but our interest is in finding out or selecting columns with what? Null values in them. Okay? So let's go ahead and this time around we are going back to our bike stores so that it's easy for us to work with. Again, select the database from here and select our bike stores. Okay, so I'm saying select first name, comma, last name from sales dot customers. Okay, where, all right, let's go with city. Now is no. Okay, where city is what? No. So we are trying to find out in our data set or in our database where city is what? None. Okay, so I'll go ahead and execute this, and it returned nothing for me, meaning all my cities have what? Value. Okay, so let's remove city, or let's just copy and paste so that you can have a record of what we have. So instead of doing city, let's do phone. Here phone is no. All right, so I'll execute this one, and I have 1,267 what? Records. So all these places, all these guys don't have their phone number. That's the meaning of what it's saying. All these guys, we don't have their what? Phone numbers. Okay, their phone number column is what now? So for us to even see that, I can go ahead and add phone to what was returned so that we would see that we have actually having what null values for the whole phones. Then the opposite is also true. Okay, I can try to get first name. Basically, let me just copy this and paste. I'm only changing one thing, so is not no. Okay, so let's see, there's a place where this is not no. Yeah, so we have the people that we have their phone numbers and have their what, their basically their phone numbers. All right, so there is that. So this part is not that tedious. It's just basically the same thing as we did yesterday, the where and order by and those kind of simple stuff. All we are using this to do is to go to our database and check for a particular column where we don't have values in it. Okay, so that is that. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at, like we talked about, is updating records in an existing what? In an existing table. Okay, so you are tasked by a senior colleague or a senior analyst in the company, and they are asked to update some existing records, maybe make some changes to the database. Okay, so how would we do that? Again, like I said, it's not really going to be your number one role. Okay, it's rarely that you do something like this, but just for knowledge purposes. Okay, yeah, let's go ahead and implement that. All right. For the updates, our syntax is no, we're not doing those kind of things in bike stores so that all of us will maintain the same uniform records. So let's go back to our base stores that we just created. Okay. So and we're going to be updating the student table that we created together. Okay. So first of all, I'll do a select. Okay. And to find out what I want to update. Okay. Then I'll execute this. So I have four records. So let's say that I'm seeing that these guys are the same age, same thing. Okay, Henry Pan and Peter Pan are having the same data, almost apart from the name change. Okay, I want to make changes to their age. Okay, okay, so we have this, and we need to update the record. Okay, need to make changes to it. So I'll go ahead to write update. Okay, update. Right, then I have to tell the system where the update should be performed in. Okay, so I'm updating the table, which is students. Okay, students. Then where am I going to put my values? That's the next thing. Okay, I've selected the update. I'm now selecting what I've selected the table rather. I'm now selecting the place I want to update, or the values I want to add into the system, by saying set. Now the first column I want to change is age. Okay, I don't want the age to remain 30. I want it to be like 25. Okay, then I don't want the grade to remain at the same, I want it to be a little bit higher. So I'll go 89.32. Okay. Then if I do something like this and I execute, then you just cost your company millions of dollars because it will apply the same thing to all your records in the system. Okay, so always be careful when you're doing an update manually. Okay, even if you're writing a program to do it automatically. Okay, doing something like this without the where clause is equivalent to saying that every record in your system should be set to this. Okay, so that means everybody's information will change to this default thing you just wrote. So always be careful when doing that. Okay, so where am I setting this? My intention is to set it to what? Now this is where the primary key becomes important. Okay, that primary key we created, this is where it becomes important. I can use the ID to target Henry. Henry is ID 3, right? So I can target only Henry and get the ID. Now, the reason I'm not using the name is because there might be 20 or 30 persons that have the same name. Okay, that's why I'm not using the name or the department, like class. There might be more than 2 or 4 persons that have that name, or more than 1 or 2 persons that have the same class. So this is a record amendment or update for only one person. So the intention is for it to affect only one person. If I go ahead to execute this, if everything was written correctly, I should have one row affected and then successful. Okay. Then I can now go back to rerun everything to see if changes were made. And yes, they are made to only one person. Okay. So that is one key thing to know. Without the where part, okay, the update statement will update everything in your table. Just know it. So if you are given the condition to write, be extra careful when performing an update like this. Yeah, that is like a must. Just know that where is part of it. If there's no where, you are setting a default value.
Without the clause,
Mm-hmm.
can we reverse it?
How can you reverse it now? You're like, just see this way, you deleted what was there and put in new information. There is no other place to reverse it to, unless you did automatically, where you create a backup database and then make changes and then pull back. But that is like a longer process. Sorry? You can't delete the update. It's just like deleting the database. Anything like this in the database is permanent. So if you change what is there, you have put in a new permanent data. Just imagine that Facebook wakes up one morning and does like an update, like resetting everybody's profile. They can't go back unless they back it up. That is why most companies have 2 databases: the real-time database and the backup. Okay, so just in case of something like this happens. So that is one thing to note. Okay. Now, let's say we want to perform, let's say for sake of showing more examples, okay, let's use not just the ID, but let's use maybe the class, okay, and then set their grade to something else. Okay, so I'll copy this, paste it. Now instead of using ID, and I'm going to set only grade. I'm not going to set any other thing. I'm going to set only grade, and I'm going to use data science. Sorry, not data science. Okay, I'm doing it the opposite. So, class equals data science, right? So now let's assume that I want to set a default grade for those that are doing data science. Okay, that will be like the use case of this, where I want to set a default grade for those that are doing data science. All right, so I can come up with something like this. Okay, let's say 90.00. All right, and then if I execute it, it becomes the default grade for those doing what? data science. So if I go back and I do a select, everybody that has data science as a class will not have 90 as a grade. Okay, that is the idea. So that is why you should always be careful when doing an update in the system. Okay, I believe this one is clear enough. The next one is delete, so that nobody can delete the company's database by mistake. Okay, but it's good for you to know it as well and see how it's been done. The last thing for today is the delete. Okay, the delete. So I believe we are done with this one now. So I can move over to delete right now. Okay. So for the delete, again, it's important. The where clause is also important for the delete. The same thing that applied to what's it called? So the update applies to the delete. Okay. So let's say we are deleting, okay, from, okay, student, all right.
Needs to be installed.
Sorry?
Yes.
Yes, restores. So now this is only one stretch way where let's say ID, for the sake of simplicity, is equals to let's go with 4. ID is equals to 4. Now before we execute this, let's do our normal select so we can see what was there and see what will be there after. Let's be sure that we are getting what we expected. Okay, so this is what we have. This is the ID 4. So this guy should be disappearing from our database. Okay, so if I execute this and everything went on fine, okay, I can go ahead to do what? Execute. And notice that we don't have the ID 4 record any longer. Okay, so that is what delete does. Again, if I skip the where part and do just delete, I'll wipe all the record in the database. It becomes as new as a new database. Nothing will be there again. Okay, so don't mistakenly go and skip the where part. Okay, don't go and mistakenly that you are sleeping, you're in a hurry, and just did delete and just selected the top part and executed it. That means at the end of the day, the company probably sack you. Okay, so because it just cost them millions, right? Just imagine that you log into Facebook tomorrow and I say your account does not exist, and it's happening to everybody in the whole world. Okay, so that's kind of what this looks like. Okay, so that is that for delete. Okay, so you can delete multiple records again depending on what you put in the where. All right, if I use the same kind of analogy of the update that we did here, that we used where class is equals to this, and I change this to delete, it will delete all the classes that has what? Data science. Okay, all the records that has class data science as what? As their values. Okay, they just delete all of them. Okay, so that is that. So if you have any questions, you can ask. In the absence of questions, we are going to start with functions, aggregate functions.